Over the past few weeks, a Korean League of Legends caster has deleted his Twitter, had his grandmother doxxed, and caused a protest involving a truck with a giant billboard driving around Seoul, Korea. All because he might be the next coach of T1's League of Legends team. Look, I can't make this shit up. Look, if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, what are you doing? Scroll down, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and leave a comment on the video letting us know what you think of this latest League of Legends drama. Also, if you've got a story for us, the Don't At Me team, you can hit us up at our email, tips@thescore.com. Okay, so back at the beginning of November, news leaked that T1, that league team that Faker plays for, had signed a former StarCraft pro named Polt and an LCK caster named LS as part of their coaching staff for 2021. T1's support effort was streaming at the time, and he accidentally leaked a Discord conversation in Korean that suggested that the two men had been signed to be the new coaches of the most decorated team in league history. Now, you might think that news like this would be welcomed with open arms. T1 missed Worlds this year, and they definitely need to make some changes if they want to compete with the likes of world champions Damwon Gaming in the LCK next year. So, some new coaches should be a good thing, right? Well, not in the eyes of the T1 fanbase. You see, LS and Polt are stepping in to fill the shoes once filled by the likes of Koma in the team's heyday. Not only widely accepted as the best coach in the history of League of Legends, but I think you could make an argument for him being one of the best coaches in the history of any esport, like any game. Immediately, the resumes of Polt and LS were called into question. Apparently, a StarCraft pro and a caster were not good enough for the T1 fans. And because LS has a bit of a controversial past and is the most prominent public figure in this situation, he got a ton of hate on social media. Fans took issue with his outspoken reputation. It's no secret that LS is not afraid to speak his mind in Korea, specifically during his time coaching the BBQ Olivers, when he actually got into it with T1's Untar. According to Woodid on Twitter, that incident is actually one of the only things that Korean-speaking League of Legends fans know about LS. So I guess you could understand them having a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth. And fans were quick to let him know that they were not cool with him being the next coach of T1. Now, obviously, we don't do an episode of this show every time someone in the esports world gets hate on Twitter. What's truly insane about this situation is the extent to which the Korean fans have gone to voice their displeasure. After the news leaked, there was a report on Reddit that Korean fans literally fundraised a truck with a digital billboard on it and drove it outside of T1's headquarters. Look, I didn't believe it at first either, but we've got pictures. The truck read, quote, "We the T1 fans demand a clear and detailed explanation from top management," end quote. These people really were not happy. And it didn't stop there. Fans also sent bouquets of flowers mourning the death of T1's League of Legends team to the headquarters of T1 in Seoul. And what's worse is that it actually got even messier. And this is the part of the story that's not so funny. Reports came out that outraged fans had doxed LS's grandmother and were harassing her. Fnatic's mid laner Nemesis actually talked about the situation on stream recently.
No, I was in a call with LS. He's in a really bad spot. Apparently his grandmother is being harassed and stuff like this. And people are trying to do really bad things to him.
Like, this whole ordeal with the truck, now that's a good bit. But this grandmother situation is f***ed up. And after all the dust settled on this, LS decided to delete his Twitter entirely. Now, as this mess was unfolding, T1 finally spoke up on the matter and released this statement on Twitter. Quote, "Dear fans, we would like to take a moment to address the speculations that are circulating in our communities. We are aware of the concerns that have surfaced during the League of Legends rebuilding process, and we want to reassure our fans that we are working hard to implement a coaching structure that will position us to win and bring home a 2021 World Championship. We kindly ask for your patience as we consult with our players and staff to carry out the best strategy for the future of our organization. We appreciate your continued love and support for T1 and look forward to sharing our official announcements soon. End quote. Now, obviously that statement didn't confirm at all that Colt and LS were hired as was suggested on Effort's stream. So I guess they leave themselves the option of going with new coaches now that all of this has popped off and everyone's upset, which sure is good for the organization from a cosmetic standpoint, but let's get real here. Colt and LS are the real victims of the situation. Assuming they were actually hired for the gig, this isn't exactly the resounding welcome that you would hope for. Now, since T1's statement on Twitter, many members of the League of Legends community have spoken up in support of LS on Twitter, including Papa Smithy and I Will Dominate. And taking a more neutral position was Evil Genius's head coach, Peter Dunn, who shed some light on the lack of experience that T1 fans are frustrated about. And of course, there is some value in trying to put yourself in the position of a T1 diehard. But let's get real here for a second. I don't care if T1 went out onto the street in Seoul, found some random guy, handed him hundreds of thousands of dollars, and asked him to make Faker a god again. I'm not gonna go harass his grandmother. And all jokes aside, it's not like T1 are hiring faceless nobodies here. LS may be controversial, but he has an entrenched position inside the Korean League of Legends scene, and is widely loved for his analysis of one of the most competitive leagues in all of esports. And let's look at traditional sports. It's not like in basketball, they take the most recently retired Hall of Famer and make him the head coach of the Lakers. You don't see Shaq running up and down the sidelines as the coach. And for a little bit more context, Travis Gafford and Mark Z actually discussed the potential implications of this move on a recent episode of Hotline League.
I don't know if it's the biggest move in league history, but it's definitely going to be a very talked about one. It's one of those moves where I don't think anyone will ever talk about it in a middle ground sense.
Because in part because LS, no one ever talks about in a middle ground sense.
LS is just a controversial figure. People either love him or hate him already just as a commentator. So, I expect when there's performance behind that will continue even to a larger degree.
Look, there is a lot of pressure, as we can see, on T1 to perform. So, they went out and did something unconventional to try to get some new results. This is exactly what we're asking League of Legends teams in North America to do. Go out and make institutional, markedly different decisions than you've made in the past in order to change the future. Why don't we just let T1 do that? Dude, if you had a giant truck with a billboard, what would you put on it? Could you imagine? Imagine all of the ways that you could voice your displeasure with something. It's fucking 2020, man. Everyone's on the internet. Why? What compels you to I mean, it had to have cost a lot of money to do that. What compels you to be this is the way that we're gonna get their attention. We're just gonna drive this truck around in a circle for hours.